What the hell is up, YouTube? It's time for some more Cosmonarchy. And that means it's time for something that is not Zerg versus Zerg. Or Zerg versus Zerg. See my last few uploads if you're curious. Ayud64 is going to be our, Asparagus Terran in the bottom right. Shopkeeper Dog in the top left, on the other hand, he is our Glacial Protoss. Ah, it was electric blue. Well, I was close. Not in terms of the name text, but, you know, whatever. Don't be confused or alarmed. Shopkeeper Dog is still a Terran player, but he does prefer to play PvT instead of TvT. Something that I will try to make more fun and exciting later, once I get more feedback on what exactly is wrong. But with that being said, maybe it's just something that Shopkeeper Dog specifically doesn't like. The other Terrans seem to enjoy playing it just fine, or at the very least, they're willing to play it, whereas Dog seems unwilling to play it. So, with that being said, he is going to be Protoss for this game. He's going to open 2-gate, and Ayud is going mech. Nothing really surprising about this opening. I do think that more Terrans probably want to try opening one stockade at least, just because it does give you a little bit more flexibility. You know, Cosmonarchy does allow you to open straight into Fulcrum, our version of the factory, if you wanted to skip bio entirely, which you would think is very attractive in a matchup like TVP, where you want those meatier units, beefier units that take a little bit less time to go down, or sorry, take a little bit more time to be brought down, and take a little bit less time to meet army parity with the Protoss. But in practice, I do think that you lose a lot of potential map control, a lot of potential scouting info, and a lot of potential, I guess, versatility, flexibility. You probably want a stockade eventually anyway for the shamans or the clerics. So it seems like eventually you would want one. Maybe it's worth figuring it out into your build. Right now it's going to be a second Fulcrum followed by a Scrapyard add-on after the first Vulture, which is scouting around to make sure that there's no Scribe. Indeed, it is on the way back home. I do love that this Mason is moving up here to the behind the minerals of the third base. This is going to be something that I'm not sure Shopkeeper Dog will be able to contest and scout, because the Vulture is going to be looking for laying mines and such. Right now you can see Dog is actually scouting around for where that Mason might be. And the Vulture is actually just continuing to look for the Scribe and has laid all of the mines more defensively. So maybe not. Maybe this is going to be something. Yeah, you can see he's hunting around for it. So Dog must have faced off against AU doing some kind of tactic where this is a thing. He wants to make sure that the rescout doesn't come through, or maybe it's like you build a watchdog or something. That is going to be a dead scout. Star pad halfway complete already, so we already see a little bit of a tech transition, and the Vulture has remained at home. So a very defensive use of the Fulcrum first, and Dog is just going to go ahead and expand behind it. He's cut military for the purpose of doing so. Got a Draken and maybe a few other things, so we'll see what ends up happening. We do have a couple of Blackjacks. I guess Blackjack Anciel isn't terrible versus Protoss. Generally, Anciels work a little bit better in small numbers than like Clerics or Shamans do. You need a lot of Shamans to be stacking together their healing to deny things like Dracodons from just alpha striking you, right? Oh, okay, it's not even going to be Anciel. This is the famed Matador drop I've heard so much about. So Ayud is going to use 2 Fulcrums to produce Matadors, and I think it's just going to be a single rotation of them. Although you can fit 4 of them. So maybe he could go for that. I believe you can anyway. Yeah, when they are not deployed, you can fit 4 of them in. But it looks like Ayud wants to lift them deployed. Or just this is the timing for it, and he might as well have them be deployed. So he's going to scoop them up. When a unit is in siege mode or any sort of when it's in a deployed mode, right? It will take more time to actually unload. Or more space to actually fit up in the transports. It doubles its weight. Normally Matadors are 2. There are 4 when deployed. We've got preemptively Dracodons waiting and some static defense being warped in at the natural. And now you see Ayud moving across. Yeah, I guess, Shopkeeper Dog was talking about this. I'm assuming that this has been played before, because you just wouldn't otherwise have like 3 of your Dracodons off to this one side. He attacks his own Dracodon to establish dominance. And you can see, the Trojan is sighted. His army is now going to contest the front gates. This is looking like a pretty decent timing attack. He's going to go after the workers here, and they do need to get out of dodge. Looks like none of them have gone down so far, but the Blackjacks are making things happen here, killing 3 of the 4 Dracodons at the front gates. Looks like only 1 kill so far between the Matadors. That was 1 worker, and he is wounding some of the Dracodons a little bit. The Blackjacks withdraw away from the Matrix, which was restoring shields every hit. Now the Blackjacks are going to come back in for another sortie, and that's going to be, better focus fire would have afforded him 1 extra Dracodon kill there. He's actually going to go for it. And then the other one is also potentially going to pop. Going after that Matrix is a good target here. Aoud is going to add some more pressure. Pops the one Dracodon. There's 3 remaining, so this force will be cleaned up. Oh, he even gets another one. That feels like a misplay from Dog. I guess you can argue that every Dracodon that died technically could have been avoided, but within more reasonable terms, I feel like there was definitely room there for maybe 1 or 2 to be salvaged by Dog in that situation. Aoud is going to be surprisingly punchy with his Blackjacks, using them as expendables. The Trojan does survive, albeit with a very low amount of HP. Vultures are dispatched, most likely just going to be trying to lay mines, get intel upon the opponent, and maybe see if they can run in and get some more damage caused. Third gate, no, that's an Ardent Authority, and then a Matrix here at the main base. He's a little oversaturated on the, oh no, almost, yeah, technically a little oversaturated on the natural, but almost on par there. Aoud going for a fast third base after his second is already up. And we actually have more oversaturation here for Aoud, especially after those Masons get dispatched. So there you go. He's going to go ahead and start getting more value out of his natural, while Dog is trying to repopulate his main base after evacuating it earlier. Funny stuff. What else do we have? Embassy on the way. Could see a drop. Definitely need Witness at this point, just because you've given up map control in the early stages. Second Ant-Seal has arrived. I do think that if you're not expecting an attack and you've used your vultures to scout out what's going on, which it doesn't look like Aoud did, it's probably a good thing to fly the Ant-Seal over the base and see what's going on. It's unlikely to be picked apart as long as you're watching it on the minimap, making sure you're not flying over a stack of Dracodons or anything like that. So the Ant-Seal would be a good move here, I think, to use it for scout. It was one of the original visions of the unit, and it seems like it's still pretty nimble and nifty for that. But hey, if you really don't want to spend a lot of money on it and risk losing the Ant-Seal, I guess you could make a Wraith. 75 minerals, 25 gas, pretty cheap. Slowly saturating that third base. Natural, still kind of undersaturated, but the tempo here is definitely favoring Aoud. Third base only now going to be coming up here for Dog. So the macro machine for our Terran player, well, our Terran player who is playing Terran, definitely going to be in his favor. So what's the tech going to be for Shopkeeper Dog? I've heard about this like one base Optecton Mine Tyrant build. I don't know if that's a real thing or not. We'll have to see, because Dog right now is I think you can easily say he's playing from a bit behind, right? So that's sort of my 2 cents about the issue. Needs to correct that starting position for that ridge, I think. The Warden's kind of screwing up his pathing. Okay, the Trojan's been fully repaired. Another Matador drop is fomenting. The Witness is on the way, but Ant-Seals are here to bring it down. Are these on attack move? So that Witness is dead. He does even try to pull it back, so pretty quick reactions from Dog, but not able to do so fast enough. You needed to like react to the very first unit that you saw on the minimap and immediately pull it back. The timing window on that is really, really light. Witnesses do not have the biggest health pool, to put it mildly. So the third base doesn't actually get scouted by Aoud just yet, but he is keeping that Matador in reserve. If there's a worker transfer, then the Matador drop can definitely do some damage. Instead, he flies over. There is one Dracodon catching it. Immediate reactions. He's already got his Acantor on file for the defense. And it doesn't even look like this is going to unload. Oh, he gets both of them. Shockingly. I can't believe that ended up working out. Meanwhile, another drop has coincided at the natural. So this is doing some numbers as far as damage is concerned. But they're not able to get too much else, right? The Trojan has gone down both times. That's probably the end of the drops from Aoud. He made a second Trojan, which I had missed in the replay. And then, obviously, elsewhere, he had managed to salvage his original one. Tier 2 now coming up. Yeah, he added a little bit of a scuffle. But he went to timing attack this base with his army. It wasn't there. He doesn't actually discover this base. He could have killed that Nexus, I think, had he been able to pick the right location, but didn't scout exactly where it was, right? Went to the counter of where he put his base at. Prostration stage is on the way, away from the Crucible. So that's kind of interesting. The Prostration stage, obviously, is where you get the Mine Tyrant from, so would not surprise me one bit to see the Mine Tyrant in this particular match, but we'll see if that ends up happening. Pariah is also very good as a unit to add in. Witnesses are with this army. He doesn't really need them to be. There's no detection here, no Eidolons or anything, but he does want to have some vision of where the enemy is deployed. We have had Phalanxes come out for Aoud in the meanwhile. Ooh, first salvo, good for the Terran. One Dracodon going down. You gotta watch out, right? Because the Phalanx has that projectile now, but its splash radius is a bit higher as a result of, it's like a bit of a trade-off for not being an instant hit attack, right? Okay. We're seeing the third base slowly get saturated there. Shopkeeper Dog insulated. He's got his wardens. The ant seals fly over. No real damage dealt, so that can be something that Aoud is grateful for. He's got 5 of them total, but these ant seals are kind of falling back a little bit far. So it looks like this will be a slow crawl forward here. Captaincy, Mantle, some of the Tier 2 stuff under construction, as well as a 4th Ministry. So by tempo, Aoud's still being up on the macro department. He's up 10 workers as well. And the Ancestral Archives is on the way. So this is the Optecton that we've heard so much about. Obviously a very powerful unit. Curious that Aoud is not preempting the Optecton with some kind of air shenanigans. You know, Sundog's obviously a very good choice here. It definitely has the ability to do that. We'll see what his counter is going to be on the ground. He might end up going, you know, one captaincy on Tinker's Tower add-on so you can get the Strigas and start pulling forces. Hard to do that to the Optecton itself, but if you can get a couple of Strigas interspersed with your army, you can absolutely pull the, you know, high-value targets towards you and get your phalanxes onto them, although it can be anti-synergy depending on the timing. Second captaincy on the way. Okay. Maybe he's like, maybe he doesn't want to play it out like air focus. Maybe he's trying to practice a ground counter. See how good it might actually end up being. Interesting spot for the Sentinel. Does block an add-on, worth noting. 4th base landing. On the way here for Shopkeeper Dog as well. He's got 1 artisan kind of idling over here. See him capping a ridge somewhere. The 2 ridges in the 3rd base. His witnesses are placed nicely to cover, you know, like air paths if there's going to be drops or if he sees like, you know, witnesses or something. Maybe the Trojans would fly over this location, although it seems unlikely. So I wonder what about his positioning on those. All right, we do have the first Optecton on the way. There's no Mind Tyrant, though. He's going to keep it to just Pariahs. He wants that bulk. He wants that front line. The Clarion has arrived as well. This is a unit that's really hard for Aoud's army to snipe. He does have his Goliaths out, though. I think those are going to be pretty good at sniping Clarions, in all honesty. So I will retract that statement, but he does need to be on the ball about sniping it, because basically every unit that takes shield damage while under the aura of the Clarion spreads a portion of that shield damage to other linked units with that overlay. So it makes it so that your direct damage is mitigated quite a bit. We're adding Stargates now, or at least 1 Stargate. That's interesting. Witness gonna poke forward a little bit. Should be sniped by the Goliaths there, yep. The initial round is good. The first Siren has arrived as well. This deployment, it looks a little bit rocky here for Aoud. I don't know if I like this engagement. The Goliaths are still standing. One of the Phalanxes has gone down. The first Optecton shot cracks off. 1 Pariah here, no armor rend because no Strigas yet. Oh, and the first big detonations from those Acantors in the back is starting to have a lot of impact. That being said, the Phalanxes are still mopping up a lot of the Striders, and now we just have a couple of Acantors and the Optecton, right? So the artillery here obviously going to start favoring Aoud the longer that goes on. And that was with a very poor siege, right? He has a much stronger army. If he had managed that siege a bit better, I think he would have crushed that fight. How's his anti-air doing? He's starting to filter in cataphracts. Not going to be great versus this army per se. I guess that'll just kind of whittle down whatever's in front of them. Still has 4 Goliaths. Clarions won't be a humongous issue. A second Ancestral Archives, a Crucible down there to empower more production later on, and the Stargate is making Lanafacts. I guess Dog is looking to use Disruption Field to disable swathes of the army. I've been told that Lanafact in PvP is very, very powerful as well, so we're going to have to see some replays of that, hopefully. All right, it's a Cataphract Siren drop. This seems like I just grabbed whatever I could, and I'm going to use it to see if I can do something annoying. A Cataphract in the base is kind of annoying. You know, you can position it here and kind of heckle the workers, probably out of range of the Warden. I guess you could do that over here as well. We'll see if Aoud recognizes that or if he just ends up getting a couple of worker kills at the 3rd base. 4th is pretty much fully saturated. You know, could use these workers actually mining, but yeah, other than that, all good. So the Siren is, it's going to take some hits, which is pretty good. The Warden will end up getting the kill. Well, it would have if the Trojan hadn't done that. So this is going to force some kind of reaction. Zealots and a Pariah on the way, but it's already been scarpered off. It killed, what, 4 or 5 workers or something thanks to that Siren. Maybe it's not just like a hodgepodge, you know, whatever. That might actually be a legit use for it. Because, you're pulling workers that are trying to leave, right? So that honestly might have legs. This Ministry fortuitously on location finishes just in time to lift off into safety. Dude, the phalanx count is humongous, but this army does require some serious positioning. You just aren't going to be able to do too much with this army as it currently stands, right? The phalanx movement speed is pretty low. So when I say you're not going to be able to do much with this army, unless you position it right, that's like the key detail. He's going to go ahead and expand on location back there. He has landed his ministry, kind of baiting out the army here of Dog. Really like Ayud's positioning here, but his decision-making right now is going to be tested. What is he going to be focusing on? Looks like he's going to bisect the army. He's going to cut off and go after the Uptecton is going to go down. The Xenolith back in the main base has recalled the army. This is something that is very different now. Oh, man, getting all of the land effects cut off immediately. Here comes a big siege up. Oh, boy, the Uptectons are starting to falter here. I don't know if I like this position for Shopkeeper Dog. He's lost a lot of his artillery. He still has 3 Uptectons up. The Sirens are kind of monkeying around with the front line a little bit. I'm not sure that that's going to end up being a really good spot. Still has good cataphract coverage. Anseal's trying to protect against everything. The Acantors are going to end up going absolutely haywire here. Only one of them left. If the Sirens get onto those Uptectons, dude, these Phalanxes are going to make such short work of them. It looks like maybe 5 Phalanxes have gone down so far. 1 Uptecton down. I think the last of the Siren... Oh, there is still 1 Siren here. Okay, yeah. Or a couple of them, in fact. So this is probably game. I don't see how Dog is going to be able to fight against this. What's he got in production? 2 more Uptectons. Maybe he can try to mount... Oh, he's got 2 of them out already. So maybe this is still has some legs. Anseal's obviously trying to protect the army as they come out. He could try to Xenolith something, but he's not going to be able to recall too much. The Cataphract and Siren drop at the 3rd base to heckle the economy even further. But listen, money is not the issue here. He's got plenty of cash. Adding gateways, trying to spend it down. Both players letting the macro slip a pretty big amount here, but it looks like Ayud is still going to be able to be victorious. He needs to scooch those phalanxes a bit closer to take down that Nexus, Brood War style. I guess he has been reset on the front, or he's fallen back, it looks like, actually, into a more defensive position. That ministry either died or lifted. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's going to start spending down his cash, capping his gas over there. Last few units are probably going to get routed here. The Cataphracts are going to be more than enough to deal with that Exemplar. Anseal's come back up as well. And, you know, he's keeping the Uptectons busy dealing with that over there. He still hasn't actually finished the job over on this base, so that feels a little bit lackluster. Autocrat Siren, that's a scary drop, I guess. Yeah, this is a little bit awkward, right? He is not actually fully focused on his army right now, it feels like. All right, he is spending it down, though. He's getting more units, seeing what else he can do. What do we got from Shopkeeper Dog? He's added all these gateways. They are not on rallies. So this is a sloppy situation from both players, actually. The reset of the army might have hit Ayud in a sleeper way. I thought for sure he was just going to win from there, but definitely had a couple of slip-ups. Didn't finish killing this base. That's a big deal. He's going to go ahead and maybe set up for a drop. What has it got? Siren, Autocrat, Phalanx. Okay, interesting. Oh, he can steal some Protoss. Empty Trojan over there might distract Dog. Yeah, it actually is. It's forcing him to kind of step back as the ground army is on the way. Well, that's a little bit awkward. Okay, he's shut down the mining at the very least. Another base being taken up there. Idle workers waiting to be dispatched to the 5th base. Yeah, I guess this ministry just died in the middle of that big attack. That must have been what happened. The layered phalanx is behind here, and the autocrats are going to help try to take that front line and use it for themselves. That's going to be a reclaimed pariah. We'll see how significant it ends up being at the end of the day. An Exemplar will go down. The Uptecton count is starting to get a little bit spooky. And we never used any of the money that Ayud has made here. He never used it to build much of anything in this position. He's got some zealots of his own. He still should be able to be pretty cost efficient here. Especially with that Siren coming in. Yeah, that's going to be a wrap on some of these Uptectons there. Shopkeeper Dog trying to mass up, but he's only got artillery here. All of his zealots, you know, they've basically died. Most of his front line is gone. So at this point, I think we're kind of in an army reset that narrowly favors the Terran player. Witness still spotting over here as the lower smiley face base is being taken. It's the upside down emoji. This army gets cleaned up, or the drop gets cleaned up by the Zealot Exemplar Servitor squad. Okay, so Dog's army is looking pretty deadly. The problem is he going to actually be able to crack a particular position? He does definitely need to mass up here. Now the Phalanx count's way less than it used to be. And we're still not getting any air units. We're still, even after, like, Ayud's stubbornly sticking to the ground and pound army, making a ton of Olympians, trying to queue down his minerals a little bit. His ministry is going to have to be canceled, most likely. I guess he could leave it up to soak up some damage. He's got like 4k minerals, so this doesn't represent a significant chunk of his investment per se. Well, he might end up shooing him away. Look at that. It ends up staying alive. He can go ahead and send that Mason on. Well, he just cancels it anyway. That's not something that Dog knows, though. For all he knows, he's actually rebuilding it. The Phalanxes need to maybe think about sieging here. Not really much of a front line, so maybe only a couple of them need to siege. He's got his own Uptecton, thinking to himself, well, my units aren't dealing with it very well, so I'll use his units against him. But look at this, just kind of crushing through. This is rough. This is a very rough situation. He's got so much money, dude. Shopkeeper Dog has actually spent his cash, although I don't know how much of that is onto queued units. Exemplars being pulled in, but it doesn't really matter. There's nothing to count. Like, he's now filtering in Draconids, which is the right move, because you expect your opponent to probably go for some air. Also, you just need something that isn't just pure Uptecton, because Monocomp will lose really, really horribly. Instead, we've got Tier 3 starting for Ayud behind this. He's losing territory in this position. Sure, he still has a lot of workers. He's only now starting to mine from this location, but he's got more. Got more where that came from. What's been, yeah, it's not even like Shopkeeper Dog is queued up a lot, right? He's actually, I mean, he lost mining at this point, so some of his bank did end up falling. He's taking a 5th base as in his smiley face position. Yeah, he spent down his money a lot better than his opponent, that's for sure. Ayud struggling on a compositional level. His phalanx count was reset, and he never really reinvested in it properly. So he doesn't really have a proper counter to finish smashing the front line fast enough that the rest of his army can get to the Uptectons. And they are very, very scary when there's this many of them. No flanking was set up, no real opportunity to do much there. He's going to cycle around and see what else he can do on the macro side, adding more sentinels to the 5th base there. Or is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actually? Oh, he's making a ton of cataphracts still. I think you want Durandals. The thing is, you need something to get on top of the Uptectons. And there's flanking potential on this map, but not when they're attacking your 3rd base. He is committing to it. All the front line out of position. These Uptectons could actually get routed if there was anything to attack them. And right now, well, it doesn't feel like there is anything to attack them. He's just setting up sentinels. He's camping inside his main base. He's got his ministry that can... He's just preemptively moving over there to replace that one that he's lost. This feels very, very awkward here. He's got some phalanxes deployed. He's thinking about what he wants to do. This is a mess. You never want to be in this position as the Terran. You want to be out of your initial choke, because the choke will work against you as much as it'll work against your opponent. Sometimes more so. It cancels those sentinels as Masons go down. There's only 2 of them back here. It's going to be another blow to his economy, although that is a depleted base. A couple of the Uptectons are getting picked off. Yeah, Dog needs to fall back. See what else he can do. A single Solarian is here. The cataphracts are doing numbers. They're shredding a lot of the units that are not named Solarians and Uptectons. I think most of the stewards are gone as well. Pretty big move there. So this Solarian is not very useful in this position. Oh, he's got a couple more of them out. Yeah, the Olympians are going to be really good versus that, though. The problem is, even as the Solarian ends up falling, there's still nothing that can actually reach out here and punch the Uptectons. We got no Durandals. We got no Heracles. We have nothing. There's no Strigas. And on top of that, no air units. As the Zealots come in, I think that might just end up killing Ayud's Spirit. He's got more units back here, but is he really going to come out back from this position? Even if he clears all the front line, is he really going to kill what Shopkeeper Dog has? Feels like the answer might be no. He constantly pulls back more Zealots, but his 4th base, or I guess this is his actual 3rd base, his 3rd base will end up going down. His 4th has already been killed. He still has his 5th and 6th. They are mining and fortified, especially that 6th base with the double gas. And, you know, his Tier 3 is on the way. His Tier 3 air is on the way with a nanite assembly. So he's going to hunker down. He still has some assets, he thinks. I do think he might need to start taking a page out of Top Ramen's book, though. And thinking about, like, 5, 6 starports, flooding the map with Sundogs, you know, picking these poor Uptectons apart. They don't attack air units. That's one of their key weaknesses. And, honestly, not much here attacks air units. You got Solarian. Sundogs kill that. 1 Pariah, 1 Draken, and not the biggest of deals. So, you know, obviously there were other units spread around there. Pariahs being the scariest thing there. That was the only splash damage versus air that Shopkeeper Dog really ever made. You can say land effects, but they would disappear in a blink of an eye. If, you know, you could say that they could be made in more mass, right, in more numbers. Rally's not really existent here for Shopkeeper Dog, but still, he's moving across the map like a true Protoss player. He's cleared all of the outerlying bases. This one has landed and, re-expanded to the 4th. It's not depleted yet, so that will be a vital harvest. Trying to set up some more map control. He's got a lot of cataphracts and a decent number of Olympians. It's going to be a really hard position to crack. So Ayud showing some signs of life in this game as his nanite assembly number 2 is about to finish up his first unit, the Magnetar. I don't know if I like that in this particular case, to be honest with you guys. I think he needs some kind of faster moving unit. Really, the main thing there is going to be the Minotaur. The Centaur. The Centaur is going to be a really good choice there because it's like a fast-moving interception craft. You can also use it for worker raids. I know that might sound goofy, but they do eviscerate worker stacks. So he could be using that. Could also, again, be building Durandals out of his mantles, but he feels like he needs every cataphract. He's starting to mix in Ramses. Those are very good versus the stewards. They don't pen them, but they're still really good at like just pinpoint defeating like individual units, right? So still pretty powerful. He's made a facade. I love it. You know, one thing that does also counter Optecton? Diadem. You could make a couple of those if he had the money. He has definitely spent through his bank now, though, and his worker count is less than 1/3 of what Shopkeeper Dog has. Adding in some Clarions, the Protoss feels like they are in definite control of this game. And this does feel like this was an opportunity for AU to just clutch out and defeat Shopkeeper Dog in a pretty significant manner, but I'm sure that they've traded games, right? I don't think that Shopkeeper Dog has gone like undefeated versus Ayud in their series, but in the practice games that they played. But this feels like a game that was easily winnable for Ayud, maybe with some adjustments. His Magnetar comes out. He's going to try to Yamato. It doesn't kill an Optecton outright, so I don't know if it was the right choice here. Ayud in unfamiliar territory. Well, one thing is familiar. Protoss kicking his ass. He still wipes through all of the front line. It's just Optectons left, guys. Optectons and a couple of those very, very important Solarians. Magnetar's pulling the Solarians in. Cataphracts and Phalanxes trying their best to survive the salvos, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. The recall comes out. This was changed pretty recently. It does 1 unit every half a second instead of every unit at all times. So that ends up being pretty significant of a nerf. So I don't think that this kind of play will happen as much. But even still, killing his own Anseal with that Yamato, he doesn't care. He's cleared the army for the most part. Sure, a lot of Optectons got out, but honestly, less than half of them. Like, this is actually a pretty significant reset, and that's with the wrong units being made. I can't stress this enough. Ayud is winning some of these fights, forcing retreats, etc., because despite having a poor composition to do the job. This entire time, he's avoided Durandals, Heracles, Strigas, Sundogs. Hell, even Gorgons would be good in this situation. He's avoided all of the units that he could use to win the fight. He even picks the wrong tier 3 air units to use to win the fight, and he's still forcing Dog back. Like, it's crazy. The things that he's doing in this game are absurd. Now, it turns out Magnetar's... Oh, he's going to kill himself. No, never mind. He Yamato'd the wrong thing, but he says GG. He doesn't have anything left. That was the last push that he could possibly muster. I thought for sure he was just going to Yamato his own Magnetars and they would die in a grand conflagration. All right, lads, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some more Cosmonarchy tomorrow, as always, so subscribe for more. But if you don't think that Ayud could have won that match with just 1 or 2 things different, even with the army that he had in the death push, just 1 or 2 decisions different with his army positioning, well, tell me in the comments. I want to hear your take, because that's how it feels to me. That being said, improvement all around can be had. We've got Acropolis number 3 around the corner. Ayud, as the reigning champion, has an invite directly to the battlement stage. Shopkeeper Dog is going to have to qualify like the rest of the homies, so I hope to see y'all then. GG.